Welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin. So, I've been back from India, back from Thailand. I'm settled. The jet lag has gone away. It's interesting with jet lag, I used to get like really fatigued and, I guess like your digestion is messed up because your circadian rhythm is all over the place. And I experienced a little bit of that, but the biggest thing I experienced was lack of sleep. And it was interesting because I would sleep for like 3 hours and then I'd wake up like perfectly energized. So, which is probably dangerous for me because I will take that energy and I will go and do lots of activities. And I have to kind of make myself sit down, like, yo, Erin, sit down. So, that wore off luckily. And I actually started taking some CBD at night, which historically I haven't really, I don't know, it makes me feel groggy. I don't take anything I don't need. But I started taking it and it actually is helping a lot. So it's not CBD, it's CBN. CBN. I don't know a lot about it. I just know that it's helping me sleep. So that's great. So I've been back at the studio. We have yoga teacher training coming up this weekend, and I have 11 people. I had a couple of last minute signups. I was hoping for 12, but 11 is a great number, and I'm super excited to be a part. It's always a fun adventure. Everybody comes in like, different life experiences, personalities, and every group in itself has a unique personality. And as a teacher, it kind of pulls out some aspects of me. It just happens naturally because I'm plugged in, I'm tuned into them, I'm present with them, and it's one of the best things that I do with my life and my dharma. So if you haven't taken my yoga teacher training and you want a dedicated teacher, I am with you for pretty much like half a year, like almost undivided attention because I just want to make sure that you grow and that like you're nurtured enough to kind of break through any plateaus. So that's what I do, one of the things. And today I'm here with you, and I wanted to talk about something that's kind of newer to me, though it's been in like the Venn diagram overlap of how I teach and how I live my life, which is Bhakti Yoga. So, Bhakti Yoga is a practice of devotion. It's one of the main modalities of yoga that one can practice, and it's all about devotion to the divine. So, like all the acts, all of the precepts, which I'm going to go over today, is helping you to become more in union with the divine. So, for some people, that's Krishna. There's a lot of Hare Krishnas that are also bhaktis or bhaktas. And there's also people that aren't affiliated with that, their idea of divine is different. That's why I say divine. It can be whatever. It can be whatever. I think the important marker is that it's just something bigger than you and something that you can kind of surrender to. So, like whether you're in recovery or you're just listening to this podcast and maybe you're in a spot, a lot of people come to me when they're in a spot and they need someone to be like a powder keg for them, a catalyst, and that's where I come in. I'm so fiery that it comes out through my hair. So, and I like to wear red apparently. So Bhakti Yoga, there's different pillars of it, and I'm going to talk about six today. And then I'm going to be doing this series of podcasts, at least three, maybe four. I never know how much is going to like come out. So we'll see, at least three, if not four. Okay. So the first pillar of Bhakti Yoga is non-criticism. And this is an important one because criticism is like a product of the mind. Now, this is different than sort of constructive criticism because constructive is like, okay, I have your best interests at heart and I'm connected to my heart so that when I speak, I'm seeing you as a whole individual and kind of being more sensitive and taking into account your state and like looking at you as a sort of expression of God. Criticism is rather like a disconnect from the heart and judgmental. So if you think about it in that way, I mean, that's a great set of rules, or at least one rule to live by, right? Is non-criticism. I try to observe myself, and most of the time, I would say, and I can say most now, which is lovely to say because it wasn't always this way. Most of the time, I am not being critical with people. But that's not all the time. I would say 20% of my day I might be stuck in criticism. And if you think that's a high number, observe yourself. Observe yourself, because I have asked people, how often are you checking out? How often are you checking out? And they're like, oh, maybe like 5% of the time, 10%. I'm present like 95% of the time. Like, oh, that's great. Watch yourself and check in with yourself every couple of minutes and see. And then they'll come back for the next session. They're like, yeah, never mind. Just like reverse that. So it's hard to be present. That's why there's so many books written about it, so many practices. It is like our I guess, challenge as human beings or divine beings having a human experience is to try to remain present when you have all this distortion that the mind sort of like flashes in front of you, projects, and then your senses are pulling you in different directions. And you have to like have some pause, have some space to be able to see what is illusion and then what is not. And then the tantrikas would say, well, then play in the illusion, like take it like a silk scarf and wrap it around you and dance with it. And the dualist, which is my OG kind of form of spirituality, would say, hey, you need to make sure you know what you're not. Like have some space between that, and then you'll sort of enter into divine space because we have non-attachment to any of this. I fall kind of like in the center, in the middle a little bit. I have dualist practice and I have non-dualist practice. My dualist practices are like away from everyone, everything, trying to create space. And then my non-dual practices are when I'm living my life actively, like in relationships, so on and so forth. So, anyways, so non-criticism is our first, I guess, rule or precept, I'm going to say, of Bhakti Yoga. The next one is tolerance. So, tolerance is really important, right? Tolerance begets tolerance. It starts with you. So I'll say that, and maybe she'll listen to this and maybe she'll learn a thing. We had somebody come to the studio who was just annoyed by everybody. She was saying that our members were rude, and there was very little tolerance. And she was saying, like, that's, because our community members are talking in class, that's not yoga. And I was like, I think you need to broaden your definition, because part of yoga, especially Bhakti Yoga, is there is a um, emphasis on community and like using your voice and vibration. And so, having tolerance for things that are different than what you're used to, or for other people's opinions, because otherwise you start to kind of take it as a personal attack, and people get up on their high horse, they get up on their soapbox, and there's this sort of arrogance that comes out. And when we do that, we are not acknowledging the brightness and aliveness of another human being, right? Like that's one of the things in India that I love. One of the millionth umpteenth things is that there seems to be a lot of tolerance, at least towards me and my experience. I know everyone's experience different, and I can say that I've spent limited time in Mumbai and Delhi. My experience has been more South India, a little bit North India, but there's tolerance. There's tolerance because like there's 1.4 billion people. If there wasn't tolerance, then like everyone's going to have a hard time. So like applying that to our lives, like just know that like people are people. Like sometimes they're checked out, they're going through a hard time. Sometimes people are less than friendly. And like, can you have tolerance and not become a doormat? Like, don't allow like terrible treatment. But this is also in the Yoga Sutras: Maitri, Karuna, Murito, Dakshina, Sukha, Dukkha, Punya, Punya, Vishayam, Bhavanatas, Chitta, Prasadanam. So in that Yoga Sutra, one of the aspects of it is it talks about tolerance, like people who are like wicked, or was one of the translations, or people who are just kind of like ignorant. Like just like have patience, have tolerance for them. Why? Because at the very least, it's not going to pull you into their story. It's not going to ruin your day. If you have tolerance for someone and then you just like don't engage, walk away, or maybe even be kind to them, it could change their day. Now, if you're kind to them and then they're still like coming at you, like just walk away, disengage. Has nothing to do with you. Like, how could it? It's their own personal experience. So tolerance, I think, kind of pulls the I and the ego out of the equation. And that's something that I really love about one of this particular bhakti precept. The next one is, and kind of like dovetails off that tolerance is non-offense. So again, people are having their own human experience, like kind of floating through life, and we're all doing the best that we can. Some of us have more tools than others. You might say some of us have more like karmic gifts from prior lives. It just depends on how you perceive this. But non-offense is, again, it keeps you from injecting yourself in the story. When you get offended by everything, you're like, this is about me. That Facebook, Instagram, TikTok post is about me, and not let me grab my microphone, and you hurt my feelings. And now, again, I'm going to say that sometimes we need to like stand up for what is right, and like you need to speak your truth, right? In a relationship, if like your partner is just like, I don't know, like ragging on you and like calling you names and things, like you can say something about it, certainly set boundaries, like don't tolerate abuse and all this, but also like don't deeply personalize it. It's within the four agreements of Don Miguel Ruiz, which is don't take it personally because it doesn't have anything to do with you. Why? Because we're all walking around with these projectors, right? So your eyes are not what you see with this. These are cameras. And so it's just like imagine just projectors, and we're just projecting movies and like little short stories on each other. And so, if it said that if is in front of me and I think, oh my God, they're beautiful, like that has more to do with like me feeling beautiful and like my opinion of it, my subjective experience. Now, I'm going to say it and like maybe that will give that person a boost, but it's because that they're going to actually believe what I'm saying. I've had people, people who deflect compliments say, oh my God, you're so smart. I'm like, oh, no, not at all. Like, bleh. You're like, whoa. Well, I think you're smart. So, again, we can take things and we can distort it, right? Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. You can take it and create the chitta vrittis, and that's what the mind does. So trying to back off. So taradrashtu swarupe vastanam. You can see reality as it truly is. And not taking offense is a good start. And so we have non-criticism, tolerance, non-offense, and then the next one, it's just like so perfect for any relationship. Quick to apologize. So I was in a relationship, and I can count on two hands how many times the other person apologized. I've lost count of how many times I apologized. And I'm not saying that as a tit for tat, but I'm saying that there is so much that can be resolved just from apologizing. Who cares? It's when you apologize, it's not an admission of guilt. This isn't a courtroom. Maybe in a courtroom it is. But when you apologize, what it does is it softens everything. It softens like, hey, I'm sorry that I did that. I'm sorry that I did that and it hurt your feelings. I'm so sorry that, I accidentally, whatever it is, or that I purposely, whatever it is. When you apologize, there's humility that comes out. And when you have humility, everyone softens. And if you're trying to resolve a conflict, you got to soften. You can't come in with full armor and be like, you surrender. Like that, it doesn't work that way. Relationships don't work that way, especially not with me, because I'll be like, buckle up. I got a sword too, which is not great, but just to be honest. So, if you are in a situation and there's tension, like just like take your accountability. You don't have to overtake accountability, but being quick to apologize or even if there's doubt, if there's a discomfort in the room, apologize. Who gives a shit? If it's not your fault, that's not what that's about. And, then you can kind of move on from it. Like you've given some humility, don't take offense, tolerate, non-criticism, all this, and then it comes very easy. So it's just a quick, easy thing that you can do, and it's so applicable in life. So the next thing is something that I do probably to a fault is I see the good in others. But there's a lot of people that don't. Like, I have friends that just like they hate men, and like I would say I love men, but like I love everyone. Like I give my love freely, and if you are not seeing the good in people, then I mean that has more to do with you than them. So there's opinions, judgment, criticism that's up here. Everyone is a divine being having a human experience. We're imperfect. And, there's certain people that you might have a distaste towards, but that can also block you from seeing the good. Everyone has good inside of them. Everyone has God inside of them. And again, this doesn't mean that you let people waltz into your life. Like you see like 20 red flags, you're like, girl, come on in. Come on in. Like, I got you. Ignore the red flags. Come deeply into my life and destroy it. I'm not saying that. See the good in others, but then also you can have boundaries and you cannot tolerate certain behaviors. That's up to you, right? That's the coachy Erin coming out versus the Bhakta. Um, so it is a good practice to see the good in others because then it has to do with you seeing the good in you. Do you see the good in you? When I first went through this breakup I had a couple of months ago, I just like ragged on myself and I was like trying to understand all the faults that my ex saw with me. And to me, I was taking accountability. I was like, okay, I'm being diligent. And what I was doing was actually like bare knuckle boxing myself from his perspective, which is like really weird psychology. I'm probably a wonderful case study for people. But then I thought, no, I have to have my own back here. Like I'm overtaking accountability. Like things didn't work out and that wasn't my fault. And then when I kind of shifted that perspective, I was able to apply these other precepts of like not taking offense, non criticism, tolerance, and realizing that like I'm a pretty awesome person. I'm a pretty great partner. And yeah, I'm not perfect and I make mistakes, but like that's okay. Like I see the good in me. So if you can start by seeing the good in you, and sometimes I have my clients take on a practice where they're like looking at themselves in the mirror, looking at themselves in the eyes, and like, I love you, like, and I love this about you. And you're so charming, you're so beautiful, and I love the way you can move your body. This is me talking to me. Um, so yeah, it's a beautiful practice. Why not? Everybody has some good inside of them. If you've ever had the experience of being around someone and then all of a sudden you discover something new about them, you're like, oh my God, where has this been hiding? Like one of my old friends, we went to Japan together and we went to a club and out of nowhere, and I had been friends with her for like 3, 4 years. She starts breakdancing with the Japanese breakdancers. And I was like, and then in the morning, I woke up and I like confronted. I was like, "Hey, I need to know these things about you." That she's like, "Yeah, I was in like a breakdance championship." I'm like, "What? What?" So, anyways, yeah, see the good in others because then more good can come out. It creates a safe space for them. It creates a safe space for you. All right, last one. I've done way longer than I intended to, but gratitude, like waking up every day and just like tuning your mind to see what is good. What can I be grateful for today? Like, what is awesome about this day? There's so many little things that we can be grateful for. Like I have this amazing studio to come into, right? I have like it's a little bit off screen, but like if you see over there, like I have beautiful like drawings and paintings and gifts that my students have given me that like absolutely adore me. Like, oh my God, like wow, like I've had impact in my community and beyond, like at an international level. Holy crap, like never punk rock Erin from like I don't know when I was 13, never thought that was possible. So like I have so much to be grateful for. And it's like when you get that like little tiny seed, and it doesn't have to be big things like I'm grateful that like I can take deep breaths. I'm grateful that you know, um, I have enough energy to take a shower. Like I've been there. Like I've been that sick to where I've been grateful for like the tiny little things. And then what happens is you start to build momentum. And even if you're like, well, I don't actually feel gratitude, I'm just thinking it, keep trying. Keep trying, keep bringing the things up, breathe, and then at a certain point, your heart is going to start to open. I have much more to say, but we're at almost 20 minutes and I'm trying to keep my podcast a little bit shorter. So I just want to thank you, like have some gratitude for you. If you've been listening to this podcast, I've been doing this like 11 years. Isn't that crazy? How can that be? I'm only 25. Um, so thank you so much for like listening to me, and I hope that you get some sweetness, some spiritual nutrition from listening to these podcasts, and I'm so happy to be here and do this for you. And if you want to work with me, I do have probably 2 spaces open for personal coaching. Life coaching with me, it can be intense, so buckle up. But if you're ready to do deep inner work, like I'm here for you. I have the tools. I have a mix of cerebral, somatic, and subconscious navigation tools. So I'm kind of like a triple threat. So if you're interested in that, I probably have about 2 spaces for that. We are going to India and we have 2 spaces left for that. If you want to come to Mysore, India and be a part of my group, it is a blend of an immersion and not quite a yoga training, but there's a lot of the aspects of yoga that are going to be taught. And then if you want more of an adventure retreat, we're going to Japan in November. So I'm going to be teaching Japanese. Actually, if you're interested in that one, like we have to book things soon. So reach out to me. Let's get you booked. I have 5 spots left for the trip in November. All right, I think that's it. All right, arigatou gozaimashita. Thank you so much. And mata ne. See you later. Namaste.